Hi guys! So now that July is pretty much over, it's time to do a little summary of my One Book July experience, my conclusions, what I've learned, all that stuff. So first of all, I think that like last year, One Book July was a really good experience and I'm glad that I did it, although you could argue, I guess, whether I really actually technically did it according to the rules, but more on that later. I think that it's really nice to have a kind of planner reset or like a planner spring cleaning once a year, because a lot of us planner addicts can get so caught up in getting new planners because they look awesome and then trying to figure out a use for them that by the time July comes around, we have like 15 different planners. And I don't think that's necessarily a problem, but sometimes I think you can get a little bit overwhelmed or your system can get kind of complicated or messy without you really realizing it. So it's good just to be able to like hit the reset button, go back to basics, and then decide what you actually want and what's working and what isn't. So I think it's a really, really valuable thing to do, especially if you don't feel bound to do it strictly by the rules, which I didn't. And that was very liberating because I think actually sticking to one book for the whole month just would not have been fun for me and I wouldn't have been able to do it. I mean, if I had to, I would have been able to do it, but what's the fun in that? So I guess you could argue that I didn't actually do One Book July properly to begin with because I started off with these two planners. This was in a different cover, but it's the same planner. It's my Hobonichi Weeks. And I did that because, as I explained at the beginning, I already knew that I really, really liked having a division between personal and work, and I briefly considered putting everything into my Hobonichi Cousin, which is normally my work planner, and I just decided that I wouldn't like it. It felt very uncomfortable, the idea of putting all my personal stuff in here, and I felt like it would mess up my system. And one thing that Romani and Carrie and Miss Vicky B always stress is that if you have a system that's working, you shouldn't mess it up just for the sake of it. And so I took that on board and I was like, okay, I'm doing two Book July. But I really did intend to just use these two books as much as possible, unless it turned out that I didn't want to do that in the end, because I was going from using quite a lot of other planners. So I had all of these on the go as well, plus a few undated daily planners. So what happened? The first thing that I learned, well, I already suspected this, but it was definitely confirmed, is that I am definitely not a one planner person, and I'm not even really a two planner person. So in the beginning, going in, I thought I'm going to be a two planner person. I'm going to transfer everything that is in all of these into here, and it will be kind of like a challenge to see whether I can make the weeks really include everything except for work. And that was actually the thing that I enjoyed most out of One Book July, is like kind of testing the limits of the weeks, because the weeks is such a small planner. You think there's no way you could ever fit all of your like personal appointments and to-dos and meals and lists and finances and gratitude. That's right, I forgot I also had a separate gratitude journal as well, which I incorporated into here in addition to this whole stack. So it was actually really pleasant to surprise to discover that I could put all of that stuff in here. And I think it's a testament to the incredible nature of the weeks that despite being so small and compact that it can fit all of that stuff in. It helps if you have small handwriting, but it really wasn't a problem putting in appointments and events, gratitude, finances, to-dos, random notes, my highlight of the day, which is something that I'd missed when I gave up the gratitude journal. And then I had things like lists. So like, for example, all of my YouTube stuff goes here, and like a wish list of things I want to buy, notes for YouTube videos, just random notes. My cinephile, which was just a list of TV shows and films that we want to see, went into here, and I really like that. So this is one planner that I don't feel like I need to go back into, because I really find it convenient having it in here and not having to think about getting it out or checking it. I just go to my planner and it's there. And I think that that is a really big advantage of something like One Book July, where a system that you'd evolved where you had a separate book for something, which again is not necessarily wrong. I don't think there's anything bad or wrong about having a separate book for this, but I find it really convenient having it in here, and it's not something that would have occurred to me to begin with to put in here. I would have assumed that there wouldn't be enough room for it. So I think that was a really nice surprise, and that's something that I just wouldn't have done without the kind of constraints of a challenge like One Book July. So that was like one thing that I learned definitely, is that although I am not a 1 or a 2 planner person, there was definitely room to condense things, and there's some things that I don't feel like I have to go back to. Another thing like that was the finance planner. So I was using this as my dedicated finance planner, and the reason that I set it up, sorry if you've already heard this, some of you already know about this, but I was feeling a lot of frustration with like coming to the end of the month and running out of money and not being able to save anything. And so I decided that if I had a beautiful planner where I could just dedicate it to finances and make it like a kind of happy, positive financial abundance planner, that hopefully would help. And it did. It absolutely served its purpose, and things have really improved since I started keeping track of, basically just tracking my bank balance and tracking expenses. I don't know why, but it somehow really did work. So when I transferred it into here, it was like, again, just a challenge to see if I could do it, because it's not like I found it a problem having this in a separate planner. I was enjoying it, and I really like this planner. But it's so much more convenient if I go out and spend some money, or if I order something online, just to be able to record it in here rather than getting this out, because obviously this is big and bulky. It's A5 size and it lives on my planner shelf. And being lazy, like if I'm sitting down at my laptop, I don't want to get up and go over to the shelf and get this out and write it down. I can just put it in here because I always have this with me. And the same with checking my bank balance. So in terms of actually having a functional system, this was fine, but this is easier. And so I'm going to stick to this, which is a shame because now I don't have a use for this binder. And if you can hear like kind of crazy sounding noises in the background, that's Mochi, who's decided to take a rug and like shake it around. So please ignore that. Anyway, so now I don't have a use for this, which is one, I guess, bad side effect of One Book July, is that you end up having some binders that are not in use because you've downsized. So I love this, and I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to think of another use for it, but that's another story. So there have definitely been some successes where that's concerned. Another one, keeping in the same vein, is this is my meal planner, and I really love this. As you can see, I like decorating it, and I had lots of fun putting stickers on. This is one of my few planners that is very stickered like that. But again, it's really convenient just having everything in here. So that was another success, I think, is it's very nice having the meal planning in the monthly section. That's where I've been putting it, and I haven't always succeeded in doing it, but when I've done it, it works really well having it in here. And again, it's very convenient because I always have this with me, and it's really nice having everything in one place. So that was another success. And in terms of how I've used this over the month, it really hasn't changed at all. So the setup that I started off with has carried on through the month, and you can see it's like I've got these 3 columns here, and then I've got the to-dos here, and I really, really like that, and I'm going to continue on with that. So I think that has definitely been a revolution, really, because it never would have occurred to me that I could do all of that stuff with the weeks. So that was great, and I'm really happy about that. In terms of my work planner, nothing has changed here at all because I was already using it exactly the same way. I just use it for everything work related, and there's nothing else to say about it, really. Nothing has changed at all. It was really the personal planner where the revolution took place. So if you can hear barking in the background, that's Mochi again. So what else did I learn? The first thing that I realized, I think it was about maybe 1 or 2 weeks into One Book July, I realized that I really missed having my daily planner. So before One Book July started, these were my 2 main planners, but then I had the meal planner, and I had the finance planner, and I had the cinephile. And I also was using an undated notebook, which I would kind of rotate just whenever I felt like it, for daily planning. So just a to-do list of whatever I had to do in the day, which I would draw from this, and I would just put them all together in a list format, which again, you'd say maybe is not necessary, but I think, if you're really into planning, then you just like to experiment and find what works for you. And I found that often I would just feel a bit overwhelmed by all of the different tasks that I had to do, and having them in the two different planners, while that works in terms of, for one thing, there not really being enough space in just one planner to have everything. And secondly, I like having the division in terms of like kind of being able to see, okay, this is what I have to do for work. I'm concentrating on that today. This is what I have to do for like personal life. Somehow, I don't know, my brain, it likes to have them divided. But at the same time, I just really like to have a list of everything together chronologically from the morning to the evening. And I really missed that, because for One Book July, I thought I am going back to basics. I can do 2 Book July. Like, I don't feel like that's, really violating the rules egregiously, but 3 Book July seemed like it would be a bit over the top. But after a while, I just really felt like I missed it. And like, there came a very busy day, and I had a feeling that I might miss the daily planner. And I was thinking of just using a to-do list, like one of these. But I thought that's silly, because what's the difference between a to-do list that you put in recycling at the end of the day and a daily planner? It's the same thing. It's just that one is a book. And so it's like, you're sort of technically you're keeping to the rules, but why do that if you prefer to put it in a book? So the daily planner came back, and that was the first thing that happened, where we can actually see the exact moment when I crumbled. It was July 14th. So I did make it through like half the month, which is pretty good. But then I realized that I just really missed it, and having it just adds tremendously to my sense of well-being. It's just so nice having everything in a list and just being able to go through and tick off the list and not have appointments. There are no appointments in here. It's just to-dos. So I really like that, unless I think sometimes, I don't really have that many appointments, and I only use this when I'm at home. So it's really just a to-do list. And like I said, it doesn't actually need to be dated, but because I had this avec, the first half was my gratitude book. And so when I transferred into One Book July and put my gratitude stuff in here, this was available. And so I decided to use this as a daily planner, and it works perfectly. And I love it. And I've been using that ever since for the rest of the month. I put it in my Caderneta notebooks, traveler's notebook cover. And I really, really like that. So I think that was a positive addition. And then when I incorporated this back in, it became 3 Book July. And then the next thing that I learned is that I really missed having a home planner. So the home planner has actually been it's been a recurring theme really probably for about the last year and a half. But it has also been a bit of a problem planner, in that I haven't found planner peace with it in the same way as I have with my personal planner and work planner. And it's kind of wandered from planner to planner to planner. The concept is really good, but we've just been switching a lot. So before One Book July started, I was using this, which is Jewish calendar. You've seen this before. And I was just putting in our joint appointments, as in things that either where James is, where I am, or like our whereabouts, or if we both had an appointment that was what we both had to go to, or like the cinema or something. And then with One Book July, I thought I'll stop using it. I'll just see how things go. If I miss it, or, if we both miss it, then we'll bring it back. And we both felt like we missed it. So again, we can see where I went off the One Book July wagon. It was July 17th. So again, right after I brought back the daily planner, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to bring back the home planner too. So the home planner came back, but it didn't stay in this for very long, because for some reason around the same time, I think I also started to feel like I really missed just like having planners to play with, because I was just in these 2 books and then in the 3 books, and you'd think that would be enough, but no. Because I think one of the things that I really like about planners is like just arranging my different planners and deciding what I'm going to do with each one, and like looking at them and going over them, and I like it. It's fun. It's not that I actually feel like I need to have like 7 different planners. I just enjoy it, and it's my hobby. So I think that's fine. And I really felt like I missed, like I was looking at some of my unused planners and notebooks and thinking I really miss like kind of deciding what to do with them and speculating, because that's often something that I do. Like if I have a planner that I'm not using, I imagine things that I could do with it. And I don't think that's a problem. Like for me, that's relaxing. So I missed it because on One Book July, it was like I was on holiday from all of that, and I wasn't thinking about it because I wasn't supposed to be incorporating any new planners into my lineup. So for a couple of weeks, that was fine, and then I just started to miss it. And so I started looking at my unused planners, and one of them was this personal traveler's notebook insert from Happy Scrappy, which I'd bought just because it was so cute, and I wanted to use this as a dashboard for my weeks. And so I started using this. And I first put it in one of my travel wallets that I've shown before, and then today I switched it into this Zinidora Unicorn in rose gold because, again, I felt bad that it wasn't being used, and I thought, what's the point of having these different planners if you can't rotate them? So it's in here now, and I really like it, although I'll probably keep switching it up, because if the insides are the same, then why not switch the outsides? So this is an undated planner, but it has a really interesting setup. I've gone through this before, so I won't go through it again now, but it's got all of these different layouts that repeat, and it's really useful because it can incorporate a weekly schedule, so it's a week on 2 pages, and then it also has meal planning and a shopping list and some notes. So we've been using this for a week. This will be going into the 2nd week, and it's really convenient because it basically incorporates what I had in here and also what I had in here. This was meal planning that we would both look at. This was kind of family meal planning, and then this was the family whereabouts planner. So these 2 big, giant, bulky A5s have now all been condensed into this little tiny personal-sized traveler's notebook, which I think is really nice because it's got all the information, and it also has space for habit tracking, which we've been using. So we've been using it just to tick off the days when James is working, the days when I'm out of the house, other things like that you can see at a glance, which we've never had before, and that's really convenient. And then it's really nice how it has the meal planning insert and the shopping list, because with any of these planners, we've never really had all of that together. So I really like that. And so I think that for now, this is working really well. I'm not sure how long we'll stick with it because, I think I can't definitively say that this is the perfect setup. There is something in my brain that's telling me that there will be further changes, but for now, this is working really well and we like it. So one thing that I definitely learned from One Book July is that we really need to have a home planner, because otherwise there's just nowhere that James can look to know where I'm going to be, and there's nowhere where we can put things like shopping lists that we both have easy access to. So as it stands, this is my current setup. So on the 2nd to last day of July, I guess I can say that I am officially in 4 Book July. And this is also going to be my August setup, at least for the beginning of August. I'm not sure what's going to change, but I'm definitely going to keep with my work planner. That goes without saying. I'm definitely going to keep with my personal planner, which is also my wallet. And so these are really my 2 main planners. And that is something that I've got out of One Book July. I was actually already doing this beforehand, but One Book July really solidified it because I incorporated some extras into here that weren't in here before. Like the cinephile, which technically you could say wasn't actually part of my planning system because it's just a list. But now that it's in here, I feel like I could go anywhere with just these 2 planners and I would survive. So if I go on a trip or something, I wouldn't feel like, oh, I don't have my meal planner with me, or, oh, I don't have my gratitude book with me, because this was actually an issue. And this is one of the things that kind of prompted me to start thinking about One Book July already in June, I think, is that when we went to Wales, I didn't want to schlep 4 different planners with me, especially because 3 of them were A5 size and these. And so I just took the weeks and the gratitude book, which was the A6 Hobonichi, and this. And then I was like, oh, I don't have my meal planning with me, and I don't have my finance binder with me. And I started writing them in here just as an emergency measure. And that's kind of what gave me the idea to think maybe I could actually incorporate this permanently, all of these features into here, and then I would never feel like I was missing any of my planners. So I think One Book July has been great for that, because now I feel like these are absolutely my 2 planners. I don't really need anything else, but I like to have a daily planner, and that's this for now. I'm going to use this until the end of the year because it's dated and it works perfectly. It's the perfect size. It's really convenient, and I like having all 3 sizes of Hobonichi in use because I've never really found a great planning use for the A6, but it works perfectly for me as a daily planner. And I also like having a home planner. Now that this home planner is in this small setup, it would be really convenient to take it with us if we both went somewhere, but equally I could leave it at home and I could leave this at home, and I think I would, and then I would only have to take these 2 with me. So it's basically, it's like a kind of 2+2 setup. I have 4 books altogether, but these are my 2 main planners, and then these are 2 like kind of supplementary planners, which are nice to have but not completely essential, but they still make life easier and I like them. So that is how things stand at the moment. I'm not sure what will happen as August goes on because, you know, who knows? I think now that my brain officially knows that it's not One Book July anymore and it doesn't even have to bother to try to pretend to minimize the number of planners, it might end up proliferating again because that's what happened last year. After One Book July, I was like, yes, I only have 3 planners. At that time, I only had work, personal, and the home planner. So the daily planner is actually an extra addition since then. But then, you know, before I knew it, I had the meal planner and this planner and that planner. So I'm not saying that won't happen again, but that's why it's good to have a One Book July every year so that you can like kind of streamline and then bring back the things that you really want. So that is it. That is my One Book July summary and my preliminary August setup. So I hope you enjoyed this. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back again soon with another video.